the power play, I don't know where maybe they left it in Memphis. I don't know. Maybe it's in a blues bar somewhere. What's the main strat?
Their power play runs on Diesel, and Diesel is not always readily accessible in the Tennessee region in Davidson County. So, unfortunately, their power play ran out of power. They are just waiting. Now they're going to have to wait until summer.
Well, welcome into show 72 here on the Pucknologists. Oh, my Lord. If only it was a decent first round. There's just really nothing to talk about for these first rounds of the 2019 playoffs. I kid. I'm your host, AJ Strong, and with me, of course, Rocket Backhander.
Hey, I'm that funky EKG reading that your cardiologist wants to call back to you about. Rocket Backhander. How you doing?
Hey now. Remember to subscribe to the cast, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, whatever podcast platform you so dig. If you're on iTunes or any of those, give us a like, give us some love on there, and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you would. Check out Tealtown After Dark, following every single Sharks game for live and interactive post-game on the UBTube. And as always, feel free to leave the comment on the SoundCloud, the YouTube, and we will do our best to answer the questions. I'm going to do a whole bunch of different accents this show because I screwed up on one word, and then now I'm going with it for the rest of my life.
Very nice.
Very nice. And, of course, hit us up on Twitter and Instagram, all of it at tealtownusa. So, if we can, please.
As they say in hockey, let's do that hockey.
So, first off, as we know, this is a Sharks podcast, so it would be remiss if we didn't point out the other things that happened first, so let's talk about it. The Lightning got swept. And there you go.
That's about it, yeah.
Yeah, right. We did have some Game 7s to talk about. Just kidding. We're going to cover that later in the show, but I just wanted to get that whole Lightning got swept thing out of the way. So, we got you here. The Sharks win the first round in 7 games. And let's go over it real fast if we can. Game 1, Sharks win 5-2. You know this one because Pavelski takes a puck off the face of a barn slapper. See, every time I do a bad word, I'm going to go into some sort of the accent. But he takes a slapper on the power play, predicted by me, actually. I want bonus points. By the way, Hockey Jerk on assignment. He is at a undisclosed local hospital, still going through his 20th canister of oxygen from Game 7 from the Sharks. But I did predict this, and it was confirmed by someone from the Sharks front office that I said Pavelski would tip in a burn shot on the power play to score the first one. Hiya, it's the only thing I've gotten right so far. Jones and the Sharks, they keep a goal out during the first 5 minutes of this game. There was some sarcastic applause. The sarcastic applause. See, I messed up the word sarcastic, so now it's the accent again. Jones has a good night. Ryan Reeves, not much of a factor in this one. And really, for me, the Sharks' fourth line set the tone. Anything from you just regarding the Game 1 before we get into some audio?
Yeah, man. Like, this is the Sharks that I knew they could be. They looked really good suppressing all of Vegas's chances to score.
No, I love, after 82 games of you going, this team's going to figure it out. I don't know what they are yet. And like Game 1, they looked great. This is the team I was expecting.
Yeah, they figured it out. This is exactly like, it's taken them so long. But, like, as we'll get on in the series, and I'll kind of discuss it a little bit later. But this is a good example of how dynamic this team is that this was they did everything that they needed to do to beat the socks off of the Knights. And so all of us who are Sharks fans know damn well that they're capable of beating the Knights square-handedly without like losing any kind of Well, I mean, the teeth, yeah, we'll lose some teeth.
It wasn't the first time in this series.
That's
Or it
true.
was the first time. Wouldn't be the last.
Wouldn't be the last time, yeah.
It would not be the last.
Yeah.
Every time I screw up, it's going to be a different accent.
I think if Logan Couture were ever to write his autobiography, it would be called There Will Be Teeth.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
In fact, talking about Pavelski, let's hear from the coach on Pavelski and his performance in Game 1.
Tough as nails, You take a puck to the face like that, didn't go down. Only missed, maybe a shift at the end of the period and then played the rest of the game. So, there's no other word for it. Just, he's a warrior.
And you can't say enough about Pavelski. After Game 1, maybe not the offensive output you would have expected, but when you lose, half your grill, it could happen to most people. A lot of course, coming into this was a lot of critics. Some of them on this program, by the way, when it comes to Martin Jones. But Coach had a different outlook on that.
Well, the only critics that matter are the ones in the room, and there aren't any. So, I don't think he cares whether he silenced you guys, and I don't think we do either.
Hey, now.
Yeah, Pete says a lot there in that, it's basically just the guys in the room. That's the only opinions that matter. So a lot of the times when we talk about like, oh, they should do this for the fans or blah, they don't care.
They really don't.
No. It's like, if you want to have a ticket and show up and watch them destroy everything, okay. If not, then shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. And finally, we hear from Coach on EK65 from Game 1.
I don't know about approve. I thought he was excellent. I thought he was excellent the first game back too. So he's, and I think he's going to get better and better, which is good for us. He's got another level I think he can even get to, but he makes a huge difference for us in our defensive and offensive game.
And when you take into account the fact that he had 9 points in the series, you can't argue with that.
Yeah.
So we move on to Game 2. This one, the Sharks would lose 5-3. Jones lets in 2 goals inside the first 5 minutes, and the critics return. Jones would end up getting yanked after letting in the 3rd goal. The Sharks somehow would find a way to claw back in the final minutes of the first, scoring 3 goals in 2 minutes and 9 seconds to tie this one up. However, the Sharks do go 1 for 8 on the power play and give up 2 shorties in this one. And something that you're going to hear over the course of our review of the first round for the Sharks is the refs will come up in the conversation. And in this one, the refs came up short with a horrible call on Couture in the early part of the second period, waving a goal and then also giving Logan an interference call despite Fleury being out of the crease. And what happens? Vegas scores on the ensuing power play. The key for me, though, is Vlasic got injured in the early part of the second, did not return to Sharks hockey until Game 5. So they were everything you expected in Game 1. What did you get from Game 2?
They were still everything I expected from the Sharks. Yep. I was like, oh, and we've seen this. These are them too. Okay. All right. And, yeah, like it really didn't feel like they were all having the same conversation. They were all sort of like listening to somebody give us a speech, and they were all taking notes, but they were all taking their own notes, and they weren't actually all on literally the same page. So it was like one guy would have a real solid shift, and the 2 other guys would just be like... And then the defense one would be like, juggling pucks off in the corners. It was very difficult to watch.
I can imagine.
Especially after getting Jones pulled. I don't know if that was the right move.
Well, Coach thought it was the right move. Let's hear from him.
No update on Vlasic. We were down 3-0 10 minutes in, so I didn't put it on Jonesy. We needed a shot in the arm, to kind of change our momentum. I think we've done that in the past here. Deller's jumped in and given us some energy and kind of shocked our group a little bit. So that's what we did.
And you know what's funny is there were some people that were actually, after the Sharks clawed back and tied it up, there were some people going, "Okay, now put Jones back in, do it again."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, essentially. Like I think Pete kind of backtracks a little bit and like tries to, oh, we didn't put it on Jones. Okay, so if you didn't put it on Jones, are you just saying that you jumped the gun, pulled the trigger a little bit too early because you felt that the boys needed a shot in the arm?
Evidently. But to get back to the Couture call, that's really one that you look at. And considering what happened in other games in these playoffs, there was a similar call between Boston and Toronto. I know there was a third one. I wish I could remember it. But what's funny is all of those calls, nobody got goalie interference. Nobody got it. But here's Coach on the call from Couture.
Well, I mean, wow. I mean, we battled back to make it a 3-3 game. The problem I've got with that is, one, he's entitled to that ice and because Fleury's outside the crease, and he's just going to that area outside the crease. There's no intent at all to run into Fleury. The travesty of the call is, if they had called it goalie interference, we could have challenged it. I think the league would have recognized Fleury was outside the crease, probably awarded us a goal, and we're up 4-3 at that time, and the game, it's a different game. But instead, it's a 2-goal swing because he calls the penalty, even though there's zero intent to hit Fleury, and Fleury's outside of the area that he should be, and they score on the power play. So, I mean, that one call is a 2-goal swing in the game. It's, devastating for a group. So, it's a shame.
Yeah, and what's funny is I was at this game, and I actually spoke with Curtis Brown during the third period and showed him a screenshot of it and said, what would you call on this? And he goes, no, I think they got the call right. And I was like, he's out of the crease. And he goes, well, if you draw a line vertically up from the crease line, you can see Fleury's butt is still like breaking that imaginary barrier. And, look, I'm going to defer to Curtis Brown. He's a guy who played the game. But the way that, it's always been explained to me is your skates have to be in there. It's like, if that's the case, so it's like, I'm just, obviously I'm going complete hyperbole here. But so is it a case then that a goalie can like stand all the way out and just hang like his left hand over that imaginary line, but like be swinging his stick on the other side? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Possibly. I don't know how well that sort of strategy would work for
Bold
a goalie.
strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works.
Let me make myself as narrow as possible in front of you. Ooh, look at me riding a surfboard. Ooh, new goalie technique.
Sean Avery will never figure this one out.
Catch the wave. Woo!
Oh, I'm telling you. But of course, the other one in this is, again, the Sharks 1 for 8 on the power play. Special teams went down the crapper once again, but Coach lets us know about it.
Yeah, special teams were a difference. We 2 shorthanded goals and a power play goal for them. I mean, it's hard to win this time of year if you don't win the special teams, and when you're down, you give up the first 3 goals of the game and you lose that battle. You're playing with fire, and so that was disappointing.
Yeah. So that's the way. Excuse me, I got all verklempt. I got verklempt and choked up for a moment there.
You got my phlegm.
I did. It's catching. So that's the way Game 2 would go down. Game 3, the series would shift to Vegas. The Sharks lose this one 6-3. As we mentioned, the Sharks lost Vlasic in Game 2, so Tim Heed would slot in. Sharks give up a goal in the first minute of each period.
Yep.
The Sharks would also lose Michael Haley early in this one after he would block a shot with his ankle. I still contend, and I will to this day until somebody proves me wrong, I think his skate caught a rut in the ice just before the puck hit it. If you go back and look at the freeze frame and the GIF, the slow-mo, whatever you want to call it, something looked tweaky there. And I haven't seen Haley take warm-ups since then, which leads me to believe he did tweak something. Like taking a shot, off the ankle, Maybe you miss a game. Maybe you miss 2 games. You don't miss a week of hockey. So
Maybe.
I think there was something else there. But, of course, the big story in this one is McNabb would get a headshot on Braun. No call. Later in the game, Joe Thornton would hit Thomas Nosek, whoever, depending on what part of the border you're on. But Thornton would hit Nosek not in an identical way, but a very similar way. They were both headshots. Either way, McNabb doesn't get a call for his, but Thornton not only gets a call, but also ends up getting suspended for a game from the Department of Player Safety. A lot of tweets out there pointing out that the Chara hit on Evander Kane early this season that got no call or supplemental discipline was very much the same. Multiple high sticks missed in this one. All around an awful game for the Sharks and the refs. And to cap it all off, Stone would get his first NHL career hat trick in a friggin' playoff game.
Good for him.
That's like the one I actually have it, but I digress.
Yeah, no, special teams. Special teams just decided, again, they were all going to do their own thing, and they weren't together. They didn't get together and read. They were trying to read IKEA instructions. Just no clear way forward, just a vague general idea.
One guy had the Swedish version.
Yeah, exactly.
We get to game 4, which the Sharks would lose 5-0. Again, no Vlasic, and of course, no Joe Thornton after being suspended for this game for his hit on a Nosek. Again, every time I mess up a word, I go into the accent.
You didn't even mess up that time. You just decided to say suspended all weird.
Suspended. To no one's surprise, the Sharks give up the first goal on the first shot of the game, 71 seconds in, on a bad play from, you guessed it, EK65. As many as, the guy had a lot of points in this series, but he was out of position a lot of time as well. And the guy clearly, and I've said this before, he thinks he's faster than he is and thinks he can outskate mistakes that he makes. And sometimes he can and sometimes he can't. The Sharks give up a goal in the final minute as Dillon and Burns got absolutely pyloned.
Yep.
They were just decorative hockey players at that point. And then, of course, what started everything was Evander Kane falling for the BS from Ryan Reeves. I don't understand how you let a guy like that get under your skin. And to really make matters worse, Jones would end up hiding from the media after this game because he got pulled in this one. So pulled for the second time in 3 games. And evidently Jones just went straight onto the bus and said, okay, you guys, screw you. I'm going home.
Casa bonita. Sorry. Yeah.
I mean, do you feel for the guy, or do you think he should have stuck around and answered the media, or why bother? Because what everything's going to be.
Yeah, no, I don't think he needed to go through it. I think he didn't need to go through it. He just let him deal with it and make him answer Make him answer questions at the end of the year. If things go super south, but just right now is not the time for your media games. Right now, they're trying to run a series, okay? And I get that you want your in-between intermission tidbits and your sound bites and stuff. But again, opinions in the room are the only ones that matter. So really, how we're doing to the outside of the locker room, they don't really care to answer the questions. They'll do it to be nice, because that's how you generate fans and people love you. But they have other things to do.
So after game 4, things not looking good. Jones is on the bus early. We move to game 5 as the series comes back to SAP Center. Mm-hmm. And who else comes back to SAP Center? Jumbo and Vlasic both returning in this one. And the Sharks get yet another 5-2 victory in the series. The key, of course, being keeping Stastny off the score sheet. Or I should say his line with Stone and Pacioretty. Hurdle would open the scoring in the first 76 seconds of this one. Couture would bury what was an absolute ankle breaker by Timo Meier. VGK would get their first goal actually off of EK65 sticks. So the Sharks actually scored, or at least the puck went into the net the first 3 times, all off Shark sticks, but one of them counted for Vegas. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
But this is this is the game when everything started to go a little topsy-turvy. Marchessault would high stick Couture, would break teeth literally sitting on the ice. And both Marchessault and Coach Gallant would complain about this call, despite the fact that Couture goes into the room and actually comes back out when he hears that there's complaints about it, and shows that he's missing teeth. And I'm beside myself that, look, if Marchessault wants to sit there and say, okay, fine, but Coach Gallant kind of like really put his cards on the table for me in this one.
You know, every series takes a specific kinds of gamesmanship, and that's his. That's really just they complain about a lot of stuff, and they do that for gamesmanship because it buys their guys time. You know, so if you're gassed, it slows you down, and that's again something that we'll bring up in the next game. But I think that it's unfortunate that poor Logan had to spend another day in the chair because that poor mouth has been, I mean, I know that they were technically his teeth because he purchased them, yes, but I doubt very much that those things sitting on the ice were anything other than implants.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's no way. That guy's lost his 2 front teeth way more times than I've ever lost my house keys.
I want to know. I want to know what Couture's dentist was driving, or the neighborhood he lived in pre-Couture and post-Couture. Because I'm telling you, there was some significant upgrades happening somewhere along the lines here.
Do you think he just has like a little office/dental lounge that's like really luxury, and so he just sits there in his little dental chair in his little apron, right? And he sits back and he just watches his Sharks games and waits for just waits. So if Logan needs him, he's like, "Okay, I'm ready. Come on over." Yeah. And just starts washing up as soon as the buzzer rings.
It's like tick-tock, my brother. Oh man, it's only a matter of time. Mm-hmm. The of course other story from this is Tomas Hertl at the end of this game in his post-game interview was taken a little out of context, but it makes for a good media narrative. But when he spoke with Jamie Baker after the game, he essentially said, and unfortunately it's like the one piece of audio that I don't have, but said that we're going to win the next game. We're going to go to Game 7 because we're the better team. Prophetic words, but I think maybe some people read a little too much into it. And even Logan Couture comes out and says, you know, his English, it's a second language, and sometimes, you know, he goes off the deep end a little bit, but we all know what he means.
It's no different than Babe Ruth calling a shot.
Right.
It's like, it's again, gamesmanship, and Hertl trying to navigate gamesmanship with use of the English language. Talk about bold strategy, Cotton. I think that this one worked out really well for Tomas Hertl. And the way that I heard it was that, they had it wasn't that he said that they were a better team. Maybe he did. But it was that, they knew that they could beat Vegas. Mm-hmm. Like, they had that confidence in them that they could beat this team, and that they were going to beat the team in Game 6, and they would come back for Game 7. That I felt like that's what he was expressing, was like that confidence that they had in their core, and that everybody else should have the same confidence in them because that's how they still felt.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what I got out of it.
And you can put it back in 94 when Marc Messier said, we will win Game 7. I concur with you. It's a case of confidence, that this is just showing I'm confident. Now, if you end up doing all the things that he said, which is what the Sharks ultimately did, he looks like Kreskin.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work out, then you know what? It's like, well, what is he supposed to say? We're going to go to Vegas and we're going to get our ass kicked again, just like the last game there.
Maybe they did believe it, I mean, they still could have had the same belief in the coin could have flipped on the other side. But I will say this about, what are we on, Game 4? Yeah, we're on Game 4.
No,
Game
this is 5.
Game 5, okay. Game 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. There's been so many games, like 8 of them.
I know, dude, I'm right there with you, man. I lose track.
Okay, Game 5. I think after the conclusion of Game 4, the defensive core got together and they were like, you know what, guys? We just need to drink a 6-pack of Diet Dr. Pepper, have some Flamin' Hot Cheetos, and play Fortnite for a couple hours and discuss some things. And I think that they got to it. I think that they talked about what they believed in, as far as like what the other team, what they knew what the weaknesses were, how they knew how to manipulate them. They believed in, X, Y, and Z. But, I think maybe they were honest about like, when you do this, I can't do that. Or when you do this, I can't do that. And it feels like they just said, okay, we're going to suspend all of our egos and like our own little individual programs that we're trying to accomplish right now, where we're just going to suspend them and do this one thing and focus on the Knights instead of us. And it doesn't matter after that. We can go back to being total jerks and we can hate each other and whatever. But for right now, let's make this special. So it really did feel for the first time, Game 5, they said, okay, we're on the same page. We got it. We got the memo. And they locked it in.
They did.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's cool.
All right.
Alrighty. So after Game 5, we move back to Vegas for Game 6. And you look at over the course of the first 5 games, they were all won by multiple goals. Mm-hmm. This one, it's and it's a tie game. We go into double overtime. Tied at 1. But the key to this was, of course, the Sharks once again keeping the Stastny line off the score sheet. Second straight game. That was the key. Couture would score with 7 seconds left in the first. And I think that right there kind of was like, uh-oh, for Vegas. Because, well, wait a minute. The first 5 games that we've played, whoever scores first wins. So I think right there that could have been a little bit of doubt. Other things happening in this one. Donskoy getting straight up flattened.
Oh, yeah.
You got to feel for that guy. And the fact that nobody knew where he was for like Game 7. No, I'm kidding. He was out there for... No, actually, I'm trying to think. Was he out there for warm-ups? I'd have to go back and look. I'm not sure he was. I think he might have taken part in morning skate, but I don't think he was out there for warm-ups. But anyway,
guy.
Continuing on with the theme of the series, Marcia Shaw would high-stick Couture.
Hey.
Wouldn't be a game without that. And, of course, it wouldn't be a game without Vegas complaining about that call. The officials would just absolutely swallow their whistles in this one when it came to tripping, unless you were wearing a Golden Knights sweater, evidently, because there is more than ample video evidence of Evander Kane catching a slew foot 5 feet in front of an official. Justin Braun catching a slew foot and trip in the corner. And my favorite one, Brendan Dillon right to the left of the net, ends up with a Vegas player's stick in his skate. And somehow that's still not a tripping call. But when Timo Meier pushes his stick out to try to poke a puck off somebody else's stick, that guy trips, and boom, it's a call. Now, was Timo's play a tripping call? Yes, but so were the other 3 calls. The other fun storyline from this one is Gallant showing up in a blue coat colored blazer.
Dude.
And us here at Tealtown USA had a great time with the Photoshop on that. Kudos to Eric for coming up with just a beautiful Photoshop for that. If you're not aware, go find our Instagram at Tealtown USA. And, of course, Martin Jones coming up with the game of, like, in goalie history, the most saves made by a Shark goalie in franchise history with 59. And Hurdle would make history with a short-handed goal, the first time ever someone scored a shorthanded goal in a multi-overtime game in the playoffs. So, you can sit there and complain about officiating, which we have and we will continue to do. But it's hard to sit there and listen to Vegas complain about calls when all these trippings go, and then over the course of 2 overtime periods. I mean, you thought they swallowed the whistles during the first 3 periods. But when it goes to OT, it's like they don't swallow the whistles, they just leave them in the dressing room. So to sit there and see Vegas get a power play in double overtime, and now you're going to I'm sorry, you were complaining about the officiating? You got a power play in overtime? Mm-hmm. Is it the officials' fault that you allowed a shorthanded goal?
Again, they complain about the officiating because it's gamesmanship.
Yeah.
Look, every guy on every single team in the NHL knows that they have beaten the game, so to speak. They are now going into the boss levels, which means they got to, that's the one where if you're playing it in an arcade, you got to end up spending like $6 extra in quarters to get through it. They all know. They all know it's going to be impossible. They all know nothing's going to get called. They all know someone's going to punch them in the face. And they all know. And they're like, yeah, whatever. I can't control that. They can only control themselves and do the best they can do and find ways to negotiate and overcome, which is what champions do, which is what the Sharks did.
See, for me, I get the gamesmanship aspect of it, but the thing that I think kind of sticks in my craw a little bit is you complain about it once, you've noted it. You complain about it twice, and it's kind of like, hey, open your eyes, guys. Once it hits like the 3rd, 4th, 5th time, then it's just like a buzzing fly in a room that you just want to,
Yeah, and
it's like, shut up.
It's at that point that you're under the other team's skin. Congratulations.
Yeah, but to a certain extent, too, I think you also get under the official skin where it's like, dude, we get it.
Yeah. And also that's like, that means that your team can make more egregious penalties. And
You said the penalties.
It said egregious penalties. They're gonna, that way, if you frustrate the officials, then your team can make more egregious penalties, and the officials are so frustrated in their heads that there's more stuff that they're going to miss. So it's potentially a dirtbag win-win situation. Potentially for a dirtbag.
I can figure that.
Yeah. I mean, it goes right along with that system. But I mean, Vegas' system has been incredibly difficult for San Jose to match, overcome, ever since they came up with it. So whoever the strategy geniuses were behind figuring out, I know it wasn't Gallant, but whoever the strategy guys are in Vegas, my God, that brain trust is worth a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, you talk about dirtbags. Ryan Reeves was not a part of Game 6 or Game 7.
Nope.
No, I'm sorry, I went for the cheap joke. But I also want to know who the hit counter is in Vegas.
Oh, yeah, let's get into this. This is some juicy stuff, man.
I want to sit next to this cat just for a period. He clocked this in. San Jose, 39 hits. Vegas, 80. 80. Did you give them like 20 for the hit on Donskoy? Is that what it was? And the thing is that if you look at the numbers, it extrapolates out that it's their home games, they're out hitting the Sharks 2-1. But then when they play at SAP, even though you see a very similar hockey game, the hits it might be say 42-36. It's not 80-39.
I wonder if you look at all of the Sharks, all of Vegas' home games, if those stats are like that for every single team across the league.
I looked at it a little bit. I just picked 3 random games in the last 2 months. 3 random at home, 3 random away. And no, this happens only during the playoffs. During the regular season, at least the games that I looked at looked fairly balanced. There was no massive discrepancy until the playoffs.
Last year's playoffs included?
No, that I did not look at.
Okay.
In fact, that's a great point. I should look at that.
Yeah.
But holy, I just like the hit caller. Or counter. I don't know what game you're looking at, bro.
Yeah, someone's fixing to get their little jacket and tie rescinded.
Dude, it's like, are you playing the Chell or are you watching them? I mean, come on.
He's taking an envelope and he's probably working with a sports bet bookie. He's an odds maker.
Well, and you know what I've heard, though, is that some of these fantasy leagues, that's one of the stats that they keep. Now, when I played fantasy, we didn't keep that stat. We thought it was pointless. But evidently, if you're, pick up a couple Vegas guys at the end of your round robin draft, just to like pad those stats. But again, we talked about Hurdle making history, and here's Randy with the call.
Kept in at the point. Up the middle, a pass for Hurdle. Tomas Hurdle shorthanded, shoots, and scores! Tomas Hurdle hits the jackpot!
Now, I got to know, you got to think that Randy has to be having these written down or something. Because he's always, Timo time in Anaheim. Okay, that one's probably off the cuff. But he had to have something like,
That was Ursanowski.
No, that was Randy.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So it was, Timo hits the jackpot. He had to have been, it's 21,
Yeah.
I'm waiting for at one point, like he's going to be in overtime and it's going to be like the old ESPN commercial. It's like, he shoots Yahtzee,
I would love to see like their next holiday video, like outtakes or like scenes from a plane, like late night scenes from a plane. So there's Dan Ruzanowski looking up something on Wikipedia and typing in facts and stats and things because that's all he does. I mean, you saw that tweet that happened when he fell asleep. That was just a bunch of letters.
Oh, yeah, that was spectacular.
Yeah, he deleted that anyway. And then like with Randy, it would be like him writing down possible things to use, but it would just be the bad ones.
No, it's so funny you say it because it was similar. Like I said, there was an ESPN commercial where they were doing something like that, where they were showing like a guy go yard, right? He hits a bomber of a home run, and you hear it's like, here's the pitch, and it's wham bam, see you later, Stan, or something. Like it was, that's balls hit to Afghanistan.
Oh wow!
And, all sorts of, if it was a grand slam, that ball's off to Afghanistan. Just all sorts of different ones, and you see them like do the guy sitting there in the vocal booth with his script, and he's like, no, that sucked, and then he goes, and then the next one he's like, here's Yahtzee, and that was the one that like they were like, yeah, okay, that's not bad. So I would love to see B-roll of Randy on that, but here's Hurdle on his game-winning goal.
Yeah, he was a little bit. I was a little bit tired, but I see the space, so I just like, let's try it, and somehow get it through. And for sure, the moment was great because huge game for us because we got now the home ice, and after this huge win, we have to just finish it, and it will be really hard, but that's why we play hockey, for these games, like that. And now it's Game 7, it can be nothing better than in playoff Game 7, so I can wait for it.
I love this kid so much. And I love that every time he's interviewed, it just seems like one really long sentence or one really long word.
Yeah, I don't even think he comes up for air.
No. I absolutely love him. But the other thing that would come out of this is because Gallant sort of intimated, shall we say, that Couture might have embellished when he got high-sticked. Now, again, we GIF everything on the tealtownusa Twitter. You can literally see Marshall. I'm never going to pronounce that guy's name correctly. But as Couture is coming around, he takes this, and just flips it up so high and hard. Didn't need to do that. You just needed to go half to catch Couture's stick to throw him off. But instead, he comes way up, clips Couture, and then they're going to try to say, oh, well, it looked like he was embellishing and blah, blah, blah. And so after Coach DeBoer kind of said, well, Gallant's chirping our guys like Couture would. I've never seen anything like that. And then the response from Gallant was basically calling Peter DeBoer a clown. This is where things get really fun, people. Because that came out in the morning, came out from the media the morning of Game 7. And just, it's one of the things, Twitter, you know how everybody's like, oh, youth is wasted on the young. And that's the great thing about Twitter, because everybody's allowed to be 11 again.
That's true.
Yes. And so everybody got on the Photoshop and hey, hello, guilty. I was one of the, as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, what app can I download that has, can put clown stuff on and I'm looking for a photo of Gallant to post, because I'm like, this is fantastic. We got to run with this. We changed the name to Teal Clown USA instead of Teal Town US. I mean, we just had a banner time with this. It is just, and I'm hoping that it kind of like, I don't think it will, but I thought, how great would it be if like the Sharks and the fans rally around this like they did Joe Pavelski back in 2016. You all remember the cute little black cat that the Marlows eventually adopted. But the fact of the matter is, at the beginning of Game 7, when they were showing some clips, there were a couple people that were on the glass in rainbow clown wigs. One of our favorite people that listen to our show regularly straight up tweeted out that they would be at Section 218. They're going to stop by Walgreens, get the red noses, and like just hand those out to people. So I so appreciate the people that got behind that effort. I wish I could have been there, because I would have been doing it myself.
You bunch of clowns.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, really? You're going to do that? But okay, fine, whatever. And again, that's one that I don't have the audio on, but maybe next time. But hey, we're doing what we can here. But this will lead us into Game 7, people. What Hurdle told you was going to happen. As you know, the Sharks were ultimately victorious 5-4 in the extra frame. Now, Donskoy was out for this one because, again, he was hitting to a new area code during Game 6. Radil would slot in for him for all of 2 minutes and 36 seconds because Radil on his second shift just blew his assignment so horribly. I think PDB just said, and that's enough from you, and you can just go sit on the bench. Or in fact, you know what? Just go in the dressing room. There's a better view in there. We got high-def monitors there, It was like...
We brought the doghouse. Go have a seat.
Yeah, go. I feel like somebody else might get out of it later in this game.
Maybe.
So you go fill the doghouse.
Yeah.
But yeah, bad coverage on his second shift. He gets stapled. Then... The Sharks give up the first 3 goals of this game. One in the first, one in the second, one in the third. Now, after the second period, I'm kind of going, you know what? That's 2 goals. The Sharks can get those back.
Yep.
We saw what happened in Game 2. They scored 3 goals in 2 minutes.
Yep.
This is not unheard of, people. And then Vegas scored the third goal, and I went, it's over.
That third goal was very deflating.
Oh, it was horrible. I couldn't do it. And then we all know what happened. Halfway through the third period, Captain Joe Pavelski would take a frighteningly scary cross-check, first from Eakin, then followed up from Stastny, and Eakin would get a 5-minute major penalty. We're going to talk about that in a second, but let's finish this up. You all know the Sharks would go on during that 5-minute major penalty and score 4 goals in 4 minutes and 1 second. Okay, let me repeat that. 4 goals in 4 minutes and 1 second. Then the man who calls Chateau Bow Wow home, Barclay Goodrow, who I think his ice time was less than 10 minutes in this entire game. PDB in a stroke of genius with 18-something transpired in the game. There was only like a minute 40 left in this game. Minute 41. And PDB says, Christ almighty, everybody looks absolutely gassed. Who here has entered? Hey, Barkley, how you doing? Bow wow, buddy, jump on out. And Goodrow was out there for, 10 seconds and buries it in overtime. Vegas fans are hella salty on the Soch. Marchessault goes on a profane rant afterwards.
He's hella salty, too.
So much salt.
Marchessault.
Hello.
Huh.
Right? I mean, it's literally baked into the name, people. But so let's just talk about the cross-check for a second. This is and then we'll get some audio from them. The thing that that I have a problem with, because a lot of people say it should have only been 2 minutes, shouldn't have been a 5 minute. There's some people that say it shouldn't have even been a call. That's what happens in a face-off circle. First off, Eakin, that was a cross-check. Cross-checks are being let go all over the playoffs. If the NHL maybe starts calling it, maybe Eakin plays that differently. Who knows? But for me, the refs, they got it wrong in that they penalized the wrong player. For me, it should have been Stastny. I don't have a problem with the Eakin hit so much. That happens. But when you see Stastny, Pavelski is literally falling back, and Stastny goes in for the follow-up shot and doesn't go out with his cross-check. He goes down with it. It's like this is WWE in a pile driver.
Yeah, no.
That's what I had a problem.
I 100% agree with you. And even if it was a double minor for cross-checking and it was Stastny that got it, it would have been 4 minutes because there was blood. So would it be 5?
Well, see, again, then we go back to the idea of it's refs. You look at the 5 minute major rule and you, again, all on the tealtownusa Twitter, the rule is there, and it highlighted very simply if the ref sees like an intent to injure, whatever, and you know when the guy's literally leaking blood out of his lid, you know, maybe you sit there.
I don't know. Like it may have been he just caught him at the weird, because I mean he was already on his way down and he just helped momentum. And no, he should not have forcefully slammed him down towards the ground while he already had momentum going. He didn't. I can't say that it was like violent and vicious. Hell yeah, somebody should have gotten a penalty for it. And like I think the refs made the right call. They needed to call something and they called what they think that they saw. And I'm sorry that Vegas fans think this should have been under review. You know what? Brett Hull's foot was in the crease.
99 people, look it up.
Like seriously, you need to talk to some Buffalo Sabres fans if you want to know what it is like to be a hockey fan in this league. And if you can't deal with that kind of heartache and misery, see your butt to the door.
Welcome to the NHL, Vegas fans.
Exactly.
And we'll get to that in a second. Yeah, but it says in the rule at the discretion of the refs. Mm-hmm. You want to blame the refs for your loss? Excuse me. You want to blame the refs for your loss, Vegas fans? Sure. Okay, if that's what you need to hang your hat on, fine. The problem that I have with this is I didn't hear when Johnny Marchessault,
it works.
When he is going on his profane rant following the game, I really wish somebody would have been there and say, you clearly feel very strongly about the call and that the refs made a terrible mistake. Did you feel that way after game 2 when they took a goal away from Couture? Did they do a bad job that time? Did you feel bad, or did you think it was a, quote, fucking joke that they missed 3 tripping calls for the Sharks but got one for you? Did you feel bad that the Sharks didn't get a power play in overtime but you guys did? You know, it's just kind of like trying to sit there and blame it on the officials for that last play. You know, the officials didn't cough up 4 goals in 4 minutes.
Bingo.
This was a tie game going into 60 minutes of or 20 minutes of the first overtime period. It was a tie game. You had 18 minutes to win this, and you didn't.
No.
You had 3 games to take out the Sharks, and you didn't. Explain to me how all of those things are the fault of the refs. No, we're going to hang our hats on this one incident.
They're new fans.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's just get into the calls first, and then we'll listen to Marchessault be salty. But let's hear a bit of calls first, because I'm sorry, 4 goals in 4 minutes? Are you kidding me?
But they can keep scoring goals on the power play, and they need to do it quickly. LeBanc, cross ice, Couture, shot, star! LeBanc to the corner, behind the back pass to Erik Karlsson. He stops it, he shoots it, tip, score! That's Tomas Hertl! Timo Meier has it, crowd urging him on. Lead pass LeBanc on the right. He's across the line. Behind the back pass to Burns. Cross ice play. Here's Couture. Winds up, shoots. He scores! An incredible comeback for Sharks hockey. LeBanc will field it on the right point and stop it. He moves into the circle. LeBanc tees up, shoots, score! Kevin LeBanc has just put the Sharks in front in Game 7.
50 seconds to go. Right corner, it's Stone. Behind for Smith. Shot! Score! Knights tie it! 47 seconds to go!
Puck came out, but Erik Karlsson intercepts. Moves across the line, lead Barclay Goodrow. Gets around the defense, shoots, he scores! Barclay Goodrow is the hero for the Sharks in overtime in Game 7.
When Barclay Goodrow is the hero, that's on you, Vegas.
Yeah, no, I fully I expected it to be a quote unquote controversial call, insofar as it didn't have a direct outcome of the game, but it did change the momentum, if you will. And I don't even care if look, when I watched the game and there's Joe laying motionless on the ground, and then there's a close-up, and then there's just blood pouring out of the top of his head. Yeah, that's not something you expect to see in a Game 7, especially if you're captain. And my immediate response was just to break into tears. I didn't know how else to respond.
And I want to go back and look, but I've seen a lot of the photos from it. You don't see a Vegas Golden Knight anywhere near Pavelski, like offering help or anything like that. Like when I watch football, when there's a significant injury, you'll see guys from both teams like over there seeing whatever they can do to offer help.
Generally in hockey, everybody just stays at their bench. They try to stay away and give the trainer room.
I guess, but it's just when you see something that significant happen, I would think almost just as a human being.
Maybe they're all just kind of squirmish and they don't like the sight of blood either.
Nice. But Hurdle enjoyed that goal.
Woohoo! We did! We made it! Woohoo! Let's go, Sharks!
I made out the end of that. But as we said, Marchessault didn't really agree with that call.
Call 5 minutes for that. That's why don't you have a hockey replay or something? Change the whole outcome of the game. Like seriously, what is that? It's so disappointing. It's like trying to get involved in the game. The game's not even close. It's 3-0. Call it 2, okay, but a 5 with something you don't even see. You just call the outcome. It's a fucking joke. It's embarrassing. That's what it is. That call changes the whole outcome, changes the whole future of us, of the outcome of this year, and it's a joke. I mean, I would be embarrassed if I was them.
Do you feel like it was stolen from you, Joe?
If it was stolen? Yeah. It was 3-0. What, 10, 12 minutes left? They scored 4 goals on the power play. Changes the whole outcome. Obviously human error exists, but it's a fast game for everyone. I think everybody needed extra help, and I think they just got involved in the game, called the bad call, and look where we are. Summer starts in fucking 5 months now until Game 1 of the regular season starts. I think we were ready to get our summer going here. We're a great team.
You're not great enough to have a penalty kill that can stop 4 goals in 4 minutes, but okay.
No, that's exactly it. He's like, they scored 4 goals on the power play in 4 minutes. And it's like he didn't stop and realize it was his own dudes in front of him, his special teams. It was his coach that could have at any point in time called the timeout.
And didn't. He
just stood there and let them get mowed down. If anybody, they should be mad at him.
That's definitely part of it.
Yeah.
But again, I go back to the fact Marchessault wants to sit there and just lament that. Okay, fine. But you have to give equal weight to the fact that your penalty kill, which had been spectacular through the beginning of this game and the previous 2 games, you had a great penalty kill. Like I said, I believe the Sharks are 1 for 14 prior to the 5-minute major. They're doing incredibly well. And, if you only let in 2, you win the game.
Yeah.
But you let in 4. That's not on the fault of the refs.
No.
And if that's what you want to hang your hat on, be my guest, but it's not going to get you very far. And as we said earlier, to the Vegas fans, welcome to the NHL. This is what it's normally like.
And just so everybody knows, just so everybody's clear here, I'm like this when the Sharks lose because of a bad call, and people want to say that the Sharks lost because of a bad call. I'm like, I'd like to beg to differ here. Let's talk about why the Sharks lost.
Yeah, so exactly. In a game where the Sharks go like 1 for 5 on the power play, and there was a bad call in the game, but they went 1 for 5 while the other team was like 2 for 2. It's like, no, that bad call, you have better special teams, and you could have made the difference.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
So, Coach Gallant, not as profane, but still just as upset.
You know what, last year in the Stanley Cup Finals, it was tough to lose. Tonight was tougher than that. It really was, the way we lost the hockey game. I mean, like I said, I'm sure you've all seen it on TV. There was no intent. I feel awful that Joe got hurt. You know, he's a class player for their team, and you know, everybody loves him. But there was no intent. There was no high stick that hit him in the face. When Stastny come out, they sort of got caught up, and he fell and banged his head in the ice. So that's the unfortunate part of it. You know, it was an awful call. We all seen it. It's too bad, you know, we end up losing because of that, because we're in control of the hockey game.
I don't know where he's getting the high stick to the face thing.
Well, because that's initially what they thought it was. It was the cross-check to the chest, and they thought that it was the high stick to the face, because I think that's what the penalty was. See, even Gerard there won't take responsibility for anything. He says it's a bad call and it cost us the game. No, it didn't. Your special teams, your penalty kill cost you the game, bud.
And the fact that I go back to the whole thing of it was a clean slate at overtime. You had 18 minutes.
Yeah. And didn't Vegas get like 2 shorties on San Jose during that game 1? Or like game 2?
Yeah. But yes, because the Sharks went 1 for 8 and gave up 2. Yes, that was in game 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and then again, you gave up a shorty to Hurdle. Like, if you don't give up that shorty to Hurdle, who knows what happens in that game?
Yeah.
So, just for me, it's just, I don't know.
They're going to have to get used to this.
And you know what? I was talking to somebody. Actually, it was during a scope last night. The success that the Vegas franchise had in their first season might have been the worst thing ever to happen to that franchise.
Yeah.
Because they think that, this is so simple.
Yep. Every year is going to go to the playoffs.
Yeah. And the thing that I think is kind of just the funny thread behind all of this is we're talking about fans from the city of Las Vegas. Like, the house always wins city. You know, if you thought this game was so easy, I've got a few casinos to take you to. You know what I mean? So, again, like, if you think that your inaugural season or the second season, you're like, I really like the inaugural season better. Guess what? That's the one that you're not going to see very often. Take it from a Sharks fan. Take it from a Vancouver fan. They've been in the league like 45 years, have gone to the final 3 times, and still don't have a cup. Talk to St. Louis fans. Okay? This is the heartache. Get used to it. And in fact, one of the people I love listening to on the NHL Network had some great lines. So let's listen to him.
The penalty they shall talk about forever happened, and we don't talk officiating. And in a sense, I'm not going to talk officiating, but I am going to talk officiating. Here's how I'm going to question that call. It's a judgment call. They have to make a judgment. They made a judgment with the material that was in front of them. I think they made the wrong call. 2-minute cross-check. Stastny was coming through anyhow. But a major gets called, you have to live with it. But you give up 4 goals in that situation. I've never seen anything like it. At some point, Vegas has to stop the puck. And here's the other thing. They had a 3-1 lead. This is what I say to Leaf fans when they complain about 93 and the high stick on Wayne Gretzky that wasn't called. Vegas, you had a 3-1 lead in this series. You allowed a shorthanded goal against in overtime.
Exactly my point. So, you want to sit there and blame it on that. But the better part, the eulogy.
Vegas. Others have said this better than me, so I'll paraphrase. Welcome to the National Hockey League. To the fans. This is how it goes. You thought last year, oh yeah, you got a team and everyone loves you and funky looking uniforms and you win all the time and it's just so much fun and those goofy shows and it's just fantastic and you make it just sound like a fun. You're up one game and okay, you lost to Ovi, but everyone loves Ovi unless you're a Penguins fan. No, that's not how it goes. This is more like it. Bitter disappointment, highly questionable call that you're convinced the league's against you, which is as laughable as can be, anyone saying that.
Exactly. You want to talk about bitter? Go listen to Steve Dangle sometime. That guy's bitter.
Oh, I love it. But it's true, though, about how, like, he thinks, like, oh, the league's out to get you. It's just preposterous. But that's so funny because it's something that, as an individual fan of every single fan base, it is something that we all deep in our hearts believe.
Oh, I'm on Twitter last night, not even kidding you, and I think I screen capped it and tweeted it out. Literally one tweet on top of the other, one saying, see, this is how San Jose, it was rigged for San Jose. And immediately the tweet before that was, I can't believe how the NHL rigged this for Vegas. Everybody thinks that the NHL is out to get them.
It's rigged.
You want to talk? Let's talk about Edmonton getting the number 1 pick for like 9 out of 10 years. Okay? I mean, you can sit there and say that all the time, but whatever. Either way, we move on. Let's get into a few more things. Oh, but wait. Let's just talk about the highlight. Now, over the last few shows, we've started to highlight kind of like the tweet of the week, shall we say. And in this one, as it was pointed out, in Game 6, the score was 3-0. And the LA Kings come out of their hole, and their Twitter feed, all they put was hashtag it was 3-0. 3-0.
It was 3-0.
Now, if you don't know what that means, go back and look at 2014 between the Sharks and the Kings. So for the Kings to come out of their hole, oh man, good for you guys. By the way, Bailey is already tweeting. Bailey, the LA Kings mascot, is already tweeting "Go Avs, go!" So
figures.
Yeah, that's fine. So let's get into the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, of course, for me, the good, Hurdle stayed healthy. This is key. This is very key. The other thing being, Vlasic was your common denominator. Every game that Vlasic played, he was a Vlasic. See, I messed up the name, so now I got to do the accent. Every game that Vlasic played in, the Sharks won. Mm-hmm. Common denominator. That's my good.
Okay. Mine's going to be Joe Thornton's knees. They're they're being held together. JB Weld.
His knees or his niece?
His niece is probably barely being held together right now. She's as anxious as I am. Holy smokes! No, I think Joe Thornton, for being the grand old man that he is still a dangerous hockey player. And I think if ever he's been in the spirit for playoffs, it's been this year. And he's it feels like he's kind of rekindled his joy of being able to play that gritty, nasty style of playoff hockey.
Well, it makes you wonder too, does he just have more energy because his minutes were significantly reduced this season?
Could be.
Playing on the third line. So maybe he's just, look, I'm not worn out from carrying you guys for the season,
Yeah, he's actually be able to coast a little bit and have some fun with the kids. I mean, dude, there's so many good combinations down there. Like just between all of them, they make such good pairs, and then they flip them around and they're still good pairs. And Joe has some really, really good moments with he still has good moments with Pavs and Couture and Kane and Timo Meyer.
Well, the best is Thornton is playing on a line with two guys that are almost, if you put their ages together, almost equal jumbos.
Yeah.
In Sorensen and LeBanc.
So they're just slightly too old to be his kids.
Yeah. Well, depends on what start you got. But
that's what I said. That's what I'm saying. Slightly too old. I'm trying to not make him out to be, thirsty.
There you go.
Yeah.
The bad, of course, for me was special teams. The Sharks power play, they were 16% through the first 6 games. Now, that last game, it's going to be overinflated because some people have it as 4 for 9, other people as 4 for 5 because it was a 5-minute major. But either way, 16% over those, that's not getting it done, especially when you go 1 for 8 in one of those games. And the PK, not fantastic. It did better, but the first 4 games, not great. Ended up being 72%. Now, they were 100% in the final 2 games, but dear boys, get it together on them special teams.
My bad is going to be goaltending.
Perfect selection.
Yeah, Martin Jones had some really bad numbers, and then he had a night where he got tossed, and he got another night where he got tossed. And Aaron Dell, although he was okayer, was not, the golden god that we would have preferred. So yeah, I would say that in this situation, aside from those last 2 games, Martin Jones, goaltending.
Yeah, I hear you. And then the ugly, for me, it's just, and again, we said this is going to be a theme, the selective officiating, the selective decisions by the player apartment safety. That's what I actually started to say.
It's a very nice,
but it's instead, it's a department of the player safety. But to see Thornton get suspended for 1 game, McNabb wouldn't even rate a hearing. I'm trying to think. I don't even think he got a call. There was no suspension for Sam Bennett in his hit on Radim Shimmick, if you go back and look at that one. Yet the call that really sets it all up for me is the fact that EK65 got suspended for 2 games at the end of December, and it was shoulder was the principal point of contact, and he got suspended for 2 games. Are you kidding me? So I can't. And then also the ugly was the vitriol between members of the Vegas and Sharks fan bases.
Like I said, they're new.
Yeah, but holy crap. When you see comments, when you see a photo tweeted out of Joe Pavelski, blood literally coming from his helmet in the shot, and you see comments from Vegas fans that says, "Oh, it looks like he needs a tampon," or
"I wish he would die."
Yeah, there was that one.
Yeah.
There was another one.
Well, because see, like I said, they're new. You can do this with other sports, but you can't do this with hockey because it's not something that you can.
But we're talking about a human being,
right?
I think, and I'm just throwing this out there. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole.
Too late.
But I think it also has to do with the world that we live in now from a political outlook, where it just seems like everybody has just taken a side. If you're wearing that colored jersey, you're just wrong. But if you're wearing my colored jersey, everything you do is right. And I want to sit here and I want to live in my little echo chamber. And in fact, perfect example of this on Twitter, and then I'll get off this. Somebody, it was me, pointed out that Fleury's name was spelled wrong on the in-game projection for the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
I don't understand how you spell a team, especially the goalie, but they spelled his name wrong.
It was foreshadowing.
And this is the typical, as you say, newbie fan.
Yeah.
Newbie fan comes in, swinging their Johnson like they're on the team, comes in and says something to the effect of, you know how to spell chokers? San Jose Sharks, after they're up 3-1.
Oh, yeah, I saw this.
Yes. And so after Game 7, somebody saw that response and came back and said, you know how you really spell chokers, Vegas Golden Knights. And this person's response, rather than saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, you won. Congrats, or something like that. It was, you're an asshole. You're blocked. Just like, it was just the epitome of most of the... Now, granted, there's a few Vegas fans that I have met over the course of the last year or so. Some of them are quite nice. Can hold a conversation, no problem. Realizes we're all rooting for laundry. Unfortunately, that seems to be the exception and not the rule.
Did you just say realize we're all rooting for laundry?
We're all rooting for laundry. It's like, hey, I'm rooting for the teal-colored laundry. You're rooting for the gold-colored laundry.
Sorry, I was like, that sounded like we were all like, yeah, we're going to go home and do some gouache. High five. Sorting into the darks and colors.
Yeah. No.
Okay, I got it.
You get what I'm saying.
Okay, I get it.
But it just like some of these fans are taking it to the extreme.
You gotta remember though, like these are new fans to the sport. They're used to stuff like college football, and then the shenaniganery and the vitriol in college football is kind of terrible. It's pretty bad. That's why I don't like going to Nashville games because they used to have that whole vibe.
Again, I go back to the whole thing of Twitter allows us all to be 11. And some of us, I guess, were a little more advanced than 11 than others, but just...
Do you think, like, Vegas fans are the same ones that play Call of Duty and, like, lose their stuff because they got beat by a 12-year-old?
Probably.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I don't play that game. I don't know that game. I just to see some of the things that were said. And I'll be the first to admit, I heard a couple of people that were supporting the Sharks say some ridiculous things, too. And I can't, like...
No fan base is without its dweebs.
Yeah, every fan base has their selection of douchebags. It just comes with the territory.
I mean,
Does
Toronto's
Philadelphia have maybe a few more than everybody else? Perhaps. It's debatable.
It's in the water.
Yeah. But anyway, just wanted to get that out there. Just like we can all be better. We can all do better at this, at being a fan. Okay?
Is that your ugly?
Absolutely. What's yours?
My ugly is the amount of teeth and blood that the hockey gods required as a sacrifice in order for the Sharks to advance. If somebody has to throw a live infant onto the ice so that it may be sacrificed.
Let it be Ryan Reeves' child. No, I'm kidding.
Rude.
See, now it's kidding. It's kidding.
No. I would prefer to be anonymous so I don't have any guilt associated with where it came from. All I want to know is that it was donated by somebody who was willing.
To go that far.
Yeah, just be
this
like,
is how much it needs to be.
Exactly.
This is how much.
Yeah, it needs to come from a willing donor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
Oh, good for you.
So who's just your star of the series? And I think there's a handful that you can look at. But who's the one who just stood out for you?
Timo Meier.
See, solid choice, solid all around choice, and I felt like he got better as it went along.
Yeah. I think that he really is, he's just progressed so nicely in the system. He likes playing regular season hockey. I think that he understands that every game he goes out there is a lesson waiting to happen, and that he can use all of these things collectively that he learns during the regular season to come back out during playoffs and just be greasy and disgusting and do things with Logan Couture that other teams have nightmares about for weeks afterwards. Him and Kevin Labanc get out there and stuff happens and things... garage doors catch on fire spontaneously. Like it's great. And he may not get on the score sheet every night, but
he was snake bit in this series. But man, did he do everything but.
He was not invisible.
No.
Yeah, so like that's the kind of player I think you need to be.
Evander Kane, on the other hand, no. Okay.
That's the kind of player you need to be.
Yeah. See, for me, I kept going back and forth. I was like, I think you can make a case for Hurdle. I mean, just.
Yeah.
So consistent. And, I mean, overtime game winner. Came up with some key goals. Scored one of the 4 power play goals in Game 7. I think you can make a point for Burns. Just playing like 40 minutes this game, 39 minutes this game. Just based on sheer amount of time on ice. Because you got to remember, a couple of these games, Joakim Ryan played like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
The Sharks were essentially rolling 4 defensemen. They weren't rolling 6. So you look at that, and there was even a game where like Brendan Dillon only got 9 minutes worth of ice time. So you can make a case for Burns. You can make a case for EK65 to a lesser extent for me, but he did have 9 points in the series. You could make a case for Jones because he got yanked twice and came back with one of the most, a franchise history making game for the double overtime game. So I think you can look at that, but you know what it is for me? It's I go back to El Denominator de Common, Marc-Edouard Vlasic. The Sharks won every game that he played, the entire one. So you guys, Vlasic and Timo,
Oh, good for you.
And I'm sure Jerk would probably say Joe
Couture.
Pavelski.
Oh, I figured it was Couture. Just anybody that loses that many teeth and still scored. Like, he literally scored more pucks. He put more pucks in nets than he has teeth. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it would either be Couture or Pavelski. One of the two.
Yeah, it would be...
I think it'd be Pavelski.
Yeah, I think you're right. So that's for you, Jerk. Oh, man. And see, here's the really funny thing, too, is, when we put these shows together, we have some sort of a rundown. We want to know what things we're going to talk about. We have to have a little semblance of some sort of vision of how the show is going to be laid out. And in my show notes, I actually have written, what now? What do the Sharks do in the offseason? What players leave? Who gets extended? Because I thought when I started putting this skeleton together, the outline for the show, I thought that's one of the things we're going to be talking about, down 3-1.
Yeah. So
it just goes to show, hey, Vegas, you had 3 games. So for Shark Bites, we've had some real cool content up on Tealtown USA, so please go visit the website, check that out. Some real fun stuff on our Twitter. We hit some new numbers lately. We cracked 3,000 follows, I think a couple weeks ago, and we'd, of course, love to double that and then triple it and so on and so forth. So if you're not hitting us up there, please, by all means, follow us on the Twitter and the Insta and subscribe to the YouTube page. So for the Shark Bites, we got into the vitriol from the fans. The other thing, too, that I just want to get in and out here, fans on both sides complaining about the treatment in the opposing barns. Now, there's the vitriol online when you don't have to actually face the person that's trying to troll you. But I saw some video on both sides, and during Game 2, I'm walking in the concourse, and I overhear, and now take this, at the time, Vegas, I think they might have been down in the game or something. Actually, well, no, in Game 2, that couldn't have been it. Either way, I heard Vegas fans taunting Sharks. Actually, this was Game 1. Vegas fans were taunting Sharks fans, and they're there in Vegas gear while they're losing the game.
At SAP Center?
Yeah, at SAP Center.
That's not smart.
No, it's not. We have a friend, who hosts a podcast for Vegas, and he went on a 30-second diatribe about what a shithole SAP Center is. That it's a crappy barn and blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure that's probably an easy case to make when you say have, a shiny, brand new complex
Literally
where you are
new.
versus a barn that was built 30 years ago. So I don't know that you can make that, but I thought that was silly. I also think it's really, really silly for Knights fans to be complaining that Sharks fans would boo during the word night in the national anthem. And then have the chutzpah, if you will, to try to sit there and go, why are they booing the anthem? They're clearly not booing the anthem, or they would have been doing it from the get-go.
AJ.
New fan.
AJ.
New fan.
AJ.
What?
We won the series.
I know.
Let it go.
I thought that was just one of the dumbest things. And then finally, new expansion plans are in the works. I am so excited for this. If you don't know, the Sharks, their practice facility is called Solar for America Ice. And right now, I believe they have, is it 4 sheets of ice?
4.
4.
Nope.
Or is it 5 right now?
They got central, south, east, and north.
And then there's like the practice,
1,
the
2,
actual
3.
practice, right?
There's 4.
Yeah. So they currently have 4 sheets of ice. They're talking expanding to 7.
Whoa, so 3 more sheets.
Adding, yes and no.
Okay.
Adding 2 more sheets to Solar for America, but then adding a 4,000-seat arena specifically for the Barracuda.
Yeah.
How awesome would that be? The other thing, too, that would factor into this, it would also get the San Jose Giants, the minor league baseball team, get them a new facility. They've been playing in a dilapidated municipal stadium for eons. So that gets them a new building, and it also adds some parking over there because they're talking about building a parking structure that they would share. For those of you who aren't aware about the area, it's also shared with San Jose State and their football stadium. So it really benefits everybody. if they can have this up and running by like 2022, I will be shocked, amazed, in awe, and how great will that be? And the fact that I'm sure the Barracuda love playing in an actual arena, but when you see banks, swashes of empty seats, it has to be maybe a little demoralizing.
Kind of. I mean, I think it's tough because they have to put that curtain down on the upper bowl every single time.
Yeah, so to open a 5,000 seat arena, I think for them where they can really focus on that, I think that's going to be great. And again, I think maybe you have more tie-ins with the San Jose Giants, 2 minor league teams. I think that's awesome. I can't wait for that to happen.
I'm stoked.
Oh, I'm so stoked. Speaking of which, too, the Barracuda are in the middle of the Calder Cup playoff, and as we're recording this, I know that if they, it's do or die, people. It is literally do or die for the CUDA. So what have they done? And the Gulls have scored themselves an empty netter, and it is season over for the San Jose Barracuda, which is a little... it's a little shocking to me when you consider the season that Bibeau and Cornash had in goal for the Barracuda. Cornash went to the All-Star game. For those of you who weren't aware, they must have got some talent up front. Now, Francis Perron, he tailed off in the season, but Alex True did really well. You added players towards the end that the Sharks are excited about, like Chekovic, Chekovic wasn't added, but Sasha Shemlevsky, Lukas Radil, after his spectacular 2 minutes of ice time in Game 7, was immediately sent back to the CUDA for this game. Evidently didn't make much of an impact. Gambrell, who's another player that the Sharks are looking forward to. So I'm a little shocked because the Barracuda actually had a really good season. But we'll see you next year, guys. But this one's for you. So finally, let's get into what else happened around the league. For those of you who are unaware, we will start in the East. Yes, Columbus swept out the President's Trophy winning Tampa Bay Lightning. It's almost like that trophy has a curse around it or something. In fact, the last time I looked, I think it was like 4 out of the last 30 winners have actually gone on to do anything spectacular in the playoffs, like, win the other big, shiny trophy. Then the heartbreaker for me, Boston beats Toronto 4-3. Oh, man, I can't believe Toronto didn't take Game 7, but they looked like crap. And if you don't believe me, go look at Steve Dangle's podcast.
Yeah.
It was bad. And they're the ones that won the Tavares sweepstakes. Mm-hmm. You had Austin Matthews. You have Marner. And then here's the really scary thing. Not only did you lose to Boston yet again, and you lost in Game 7, you really want to get depressed? Go look at their cap situation. It's not pretty, my friends. And speaking of cap situations, go look at Vegas's. Vegas, you got some extra time now? Go look at your cap situation. You guys might find humility quicker than you think. On the other side of the bracket, and by the way, mine's not doing so great. Oh, I'm so disappointed. Oh, my bracket. But the reigning Stanley Cup champions are reigning no more. Well, of course, they reign until somebody else has handed the cup. But those bunch of jerks have knocked. Could you be more excited?
No.
I'm tickled to death.
Tickled. This has been a huge storyline to watch during the regular season.
Oh, hashtag Storm Search.
Yeah, like all of their little goofy celebrations, I think were just motivation not only for their fans, but for them as well, to have some fun with it and to allow themselves to celebrate and to find something to be positive about. And then that whole thing with, Don Cherry being a big old, get off of my lawn. I'm the only one that can wear loud costumes and draw attention to themselves in the NHL.
That really was like the height of hypocrisy.
I think he did that on purpose, though. I think that he knows when to play the heel. Man, he's been doing this long enough. Yeah. He ought to know.
Yeah, but it's great on you guys, Carolina. Good on
job.
you. And then for all the people that sit there and go, oh, the NHL is rigged. They just want Pittsburgh in there every time, and Chicago every time, and Washington. Well, guess what? They're all out, people.
Yeah, this is not that year.
Yeah, it's the Islanders and the Carolina Hurricanes facing each other, and and if you really want to say it's rigged, that means Boston's going out in the next round because we're just going to have we're going for the worst ratings we've ever had, and in fact, that's what we're going to do. We're going to have Dallas versus Columbus in the final. That's what it's going to be because we want the absolute worst ratings we've ever had in the NHL. On the other side, in the West, Dallas has moved on in 6 games. That came as a little bit of a shock, but not to Rocket Backhander.
Yeah, Predators did not have the depth in order to sustain the play that they wanted to with that system. Laviolette is on the hot seat, but it's not his fault because, again, they just had struggles with player suspensions and also with injuries and, breaking in the new kid. So next year they'll come back, they'll be better, but they definitely needed way more depth.
I just
bye y'all.
I always just go back to the Pekka Rinne gif of trying to chop down the goalie net, and that's just what runs through my mind.
There's a 2-game gif that runs together. It's for me. It's where Pekka Rinne actually has a tree axe in his hands, and he's chopping down a tree.
And people flares start falling out of the tree.
It's the players start falling out of the tree. It's from 2 separate games. But it was the same series. I thought that was one of the best things that ever happened out of that series.
That's when I love the internet.
Yes.
That is when I love the internet. Then also happening, another top seed gets taken down by a lower one, although we're talking, St. Louis and the Jets. I mean, St. Louis literally was like a win away from winning the Central. So, yeah, and that was the one that I nailed. I called St. Louis, and I called them in 6, and that's what happened. And so that's the one time I can actually pat myself on the back. The rest of my bracket completely destroyed.
Good for you.
Right?
Oh, good for you.
And then another top seed, the best team in the West, gets knocked out in 5 games. The Avs over the Flames. It's not totally reminiscent, but it did kind of give me shades of when the Sharks were knocked out by Anaheim in 6 after they won the President's Trophy, but they got knocked out in the first round. And then, as you know, Game 7, the Sharks over so Sharks and Avs are coming up. Blues face the Stars, Blue Jackets face the Bruins, and the Islanders face the Canes. Oh, the Caniacs are going to be great. So, couple things to talk about for this. You talk about the Toronto series. You got the DeBrusque kid on Marlowe, and then Nazem Kadri gets suspended. And oh my God, if you're not following Sean Avery on Instagram, go do yourself a favor. His reactions were hysterical. This Tampa collapse was amazing. I mean, you got Kucherov getting suspended, and then just Tampa swept, unbelievable. And along with the storm surge story with the Canes, you've also got Ovechkin, killing Svechnikov. I mean, just dropped him like a bad habit in the middle of the series.
Yeah, the whole,
just killed him.
I saw somebody on social media had posted up something about that. It's like, it's not every day you get knocked out by your idol.
Yeah. So, and maybe that's something that the Canes use to rally around.
Yeah.
I don't know, but Ovi is not going to have the summer he did last year.
No.
In one long drunken stupor.
Well, I mean, he can still go and swim in the fountain.
Oh, absolutely.
But, he's just going to be out there a lot longer. You know what? Is it the Toronto Maple Leafs have John Tavares, but the New York Islanders are going to the second round.
I'm so happy you mentioned that. Because that just needed to be out there, people. Just saying.
Yeah.
Hashtag, we don't need you.
Yes, you look nervous.
And finally over there, the Isles just smoking the Penguins. Attention. If you're missing a Sidney Crosby, please report to the front of the NHL offices. I mean, Sidney Crosby had 1 point in this series, and it was in the final game. Unbelievable.
Has he had the mumps for a long time now?
I have no idea. Maybe all the other trophies were weighing him down. He couldn't show up to this one. I mean, the guy's got enough hardware to open a store.
It's true.
He's fine. Jets versus Blues. I mean, I don't know. You look at Winnington. We're talking about a team that was in the basement in January. So great to the Blues. And hopefully we'll see them in the Sharks will see the Blues in the next round or for the Western Conference Final, because then we can talk to our friends over at Let's Go Blues Radio. Flames and Avs. I mean, the Avs beat the Flames in 5 after scoring 4 in game 1. They never put up more than 2 goals in the final 4 games. Johnny Hockey, hello. You had 1 assist, although I think he had like 20 goals taken away from him in the final game.
It felt like it.
It was amazing.
It honestly felt like it.
It was it's a good. Nope. Sorry. Nope. Try again. Nope. And -2. Monahan, 1 goal and 1 assist. Lindholm, 1 goal, 1 assist, but a -4. Giordano, everybody's sexy pick for the Norris, 2 assists, but a -3. And then the real deal, James Neal, the big acquisition you got from Vegas last season, no points, a -3, and actually was scratched in Game 5. That's a story. Like, you talk about Edmonton fans being salty about. I mean, they changed their coach. You've got Connor McDavid. You know, I don't know. It feels like he's kind of like, get me the fuck out of this franchise.
You kind of see it on his face.
Yeah. So, Calgary, just Alberta as a whole, you guys must be pissed. Just saying. And let's also point out too is Canada ain't getting the cutback this year. All the Canadian teams, you gone. Calgary, you gone. Winnipeg, you gone. Toronto, you gone.
You know what? Mark Giordano, he looks like a bald Mr. Bean.
I don't know. I just feel like him and like Getzlaf would be just like really cool to hang out with, because you just like just little bongos. God, that was so rude. And then, of course, the Stars versus Preds. Dallas wins in 6, and Nashville, the power play. I don't know where they put. Maybe they left it in Memphis. I don't know. Maybe it's in a blues bar somewhere. What's the main strat?
Their power play runs on Diesel. And Diesel is not always readily accessible in the Tennessee region in Davidson County. So, unfortunately, their power play ran out of power. They are just waiting. Now they're going to have to wait until the summer. Someone can get a semi in there with another big old power play and power it back up again.
A couple other stories that happened, and I know we're running long, but hello, we're talking 7 games here in a lot of different playoffs. Just a couple of quick stories for those of you who are unaware. Alain Vigneault, now the coach of the Philadelphia Flyers. What could possibly go wrong there? I don't know. I don't feel that that's a good combination, to be honest with you, but we'll see. I mean, he did okay with the Rangers, and he did get Vancouver literally 2 goals away from a Stanley Cup. I mean, Game 7, and you lose to Boston. Vancouver burns their city down, and there you go. So, I don't know. I just don't know that that's a good match. And speaking of matches that I don't know are going to work.
Questionable matches.
Former Sharks coach, for the second time, L.A., to coin a term from Sean Avery, L.A. takes San Jose's sloppy seconds and takes in one Todd McClellan. I don't know how many teams he has to coach in one division to take the record. I mean, Daryl Sutter coached San Jose, Calgary, L.A. T-Mac, San Jose, Edmonton, L.A. So that they both hit the trifecta. I don't know what you have to do to get the quad, but you know. And in future news, Todd McClellan has been named head coach of the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, who knows?
He's going to be the new coach of the Seattle.
Oh, there you go.
Pigeons.
Yes, he'll be the coach of Seattle after everything goes just down the crapper in LA. And to you think about it, you go from having guys like Hurdle, Pavelski, Joe friggin' Thornton, Patrick Marleau, and then you go to Connor McDavid,
right?
Leon Draisaitl, and now it's Anze Kopitar, a aging Anze Kopitar on a really long contract, aging Drew Doughty, who looks like he's skating in cement.
Tyler Toffoli.
Well, okay, I'll take that. But there's hello, Quick, not looking so quick as of late.
Not so quick.
And so, good luck to you, T-Mac, except for when you're playing the Sharks. But holy hell, that's another one. Oof.
So wait, do you think that they're just bringing him as the interim coach while they try to fix the tire fire, so that if anything bad happens, like the fan base and the franchise will just be like, man, that guy's terrible, and then they can like be like, well, we're going to do the rebuild, and then the rebuild out with the crap coach that everybody hates, poof, in with the rebuild coach, and then the team goes forward to glory from there, straight off a cliff, I hope. But, you know.
I think that's part of it. I also think it's Dance with the Devil You Know, and Rob Blake knows Todd McClellan.
Sure he does.
So that's what I think it was, to be honest with you. I think that was kind of like the driving force behind it. It's like, dance with the one I know. So, again, going into the next round, you got Islanders versus the Canes, Blue Jackets versus the Bruins, Stars versus Blues, and the Avalanche heading to San Jose. Now, remember, kids, because Calgary dropped out, all the top seeds lost. I mean, think about it. Nashville top seed lost. Winnipeg top seed lost. Calgary top seed. The only one, it was San Jose that made it through. On the other hand, it was Boston. Oh, and New York. There you go. So a lot of top seeds fell out. Because of that, San Jose, as long as they keep playing all the way up to the Cup, they have home ice. And then once the Cup hits, depending on who wins. But San Jose, hey, the keys are San Jose is not a fast team. That was proven pretty goddamn evident against Vegas. The problem is Colorado is faster than Vegas. Nate McKinnon is a goddamn beast right now. Landeskog playing great. Rantanen, oh my God. You want to talk about a guy Hockey Jerk loves. Rantanen. Grubauer playing very well in goal. I think he has a 1.91 for that series. So, but things to look at, you go, well, maybe it's because they're mostly a one-line team. You know, can you contain that line the way that you contained Stastny, Pacioretty, and Stone? That's going to be some fun to look at. The other fun on the Colorado one, the Sharks beat them 3 times this season. Now, granted, last one was fan appreciation. That game didn't mean a whole lot. Colorado was stuck in their slot; they couldn't advance. So I don't know. It should be a good match, but for all the different ways that you can put San Jose and Colorado together, I think I can bring everybody together just to know how many times that at least 4 times for 4 games we are going to hear the words Long Beach Native.
At least.
Minimum 4.
Yeah.
I hope it's only 4 because the Sharks swept Colorado, but anyway.
Yeah.
Long Beach Native.
I think that a lot of the reason why So yeah, Colorado is faster and they're more lithe, and McKinnon is a beast. But here is this beat up San Jose core that just got done doing this gnarly battle with the team that is not only fast but hits hard. I don't know if Colorado hits that hard.
No.
So
all the heavy hitters are essentially out.
Yeah. So if San Jose, who survived that beating, like that 90 hits to 32 hits, then I think that they may use a little bit of the strategy that they learned going against Vegas. They may learn how to use that to just beat the crud out of Colorado.
It's I don't know. To me, it feels like San Jose is a little more Calgary. Vegas is a little more Colorado. But see, well, that's actually a hard thing to do because Vegas is a real heavy hitting team, and like you said, Colorado is just speed.
Yeah.
So
Colorado is like Arizona. Sorry, but like they're just speed teams.
Yeah.
And how Dallas used to be just a speed team.
And of course, the X factor too. As we're recording, we still don't know anything about Joe Pavelski's status.
They've welded his face to an iPhone X, and they've grafted a cage around it.
Ooh.
He'll be fine.
All right. Well, the next time you'll see us, show 73, that will be to wrap up round 2.
Oy.
So hopefully you hear from us in about 7 days. And it's all good news.
I hope so.
That would be nice. So with that, we thank you very much for checking us out once again. Again, do us a favor, subscribe to us, whatever podcast catcher you listen to us on. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at tealtownusa. And Rocket, your final thoughts on where they can find you on the Soch.
Final thoughts. Hey, this round was everything that I thought Sharks were, which is I have no idea who this team is, which is not true. I know who they are. It's just I just didn't want them to disappoint me so much, and they did because they're so amazing. So yeah, I'm still a Sharks fan. I'll put aside my differences with them for now in order to get through this, and then after everything is all said and done, well, we'll figure it out from there. I still love this team. My name is Rocket Backhander. You can check me out on social media, doing social media things. Twitter, tweeting, the tweets as one does. It's R Backhander 76, capital R, capital B, little Backhander 76. Or you can check out my visual representation of being a Sharks fan here in San Jose over on the Instagram, Rocket Backhander, one word. AJ?
Mm-hmm. I'm AJ_strong on all the social media hoopla. Go find me there because that's where I hang out. My final thought, I'm actually going to... I have a couple different things that I'd like to say, but for Vegas...
Goodbye.
That's for you, as will our outgoing music for this show. But my final thought is 18 minutes into overtime from Game 7. The words that I heard Joe Thornton whisper into Barclay Goodrow's ear.
Come on, Goody. Pull the trigger, man.
And he did. He did. Booyah. That's it. Thanks for playing. We will see you next time. Send in the clown.